Peter, your IMDb says you were born or you grew up in Texas?
Yeah, grew up in Texas, right across the river from Oklahoma, in a town called Denison. No memories of it. We transferred out when I was 18 months old, headed up to, at the time, what might as well have been Mars to us. It was New Hampshire, much different. So that's where I spent my golden years. Grew up there, loved it, eventually moved to Colorado and have been progressively heading out west ever since. Now here I am in Los Angeles.
And did you go to film school?
I did. I went to the University of Colorado in Boulder. Wonderful school, a bit avant-garde, definitely an emphasis on film theory, documentary, not so much the Hollywood studio system. But nonetheless, it was a good school, very fine professors, many of whom I'm still in touch with today. But as soon as I graduated, I knew the kind of filmmaking I wanted to do, so I went right down the road, right out here.
And you've done mostly horror films. I know you said you don't want to be just totally put in that one category, but was that your plan?
No, it wasn't my plan. My first couple of films, actually, when I came out to LA, I needed a few years to put the pieces in place and start making movies. And my first couple of films were dramas. There was a thriller in there, but it was not at all horror. I made a few of those and decided to, in a sense, lighten it up a little bit to have some fun and go into kind of a fun genre type of picture. And I have a soft spot for horror. I've always loved horror. I always will love horror. And it was not until my third or fourth picture in, I believe, that I delved into that genre, and then I rolled off a number in a row, and those started to pick up steam, and I started to get branded as a horror filmmaker, and which I'll take. I enjoy it, but no, I've delved into a number of genres, and I imagine I'll continue to in years to come.
When you were at film school, you said it was a bit avant-garde. So were they, because they were in Colorado, did they not sort of know that Hollywood kind of has its own set of rules, some of which are fantastic and some of which are terribly unethical?
Oh, they were all too aware of the type of business. I mean, it certainly was the antithesis to going to, say, USC, where you are trained, certainly the master's program, where they train you for the industry and what type of pictures they're looking to make out there and how to break into the industry. Plus, you're out there in Los Angeles Metro, and you're meeting these contacts that can get you right into the business. CU was more about teaching you from a grassroots standpoint, just the love of film itself. Again, a lot of it was documentary or experimental or independent, I guess would be a better word to wrap up all of it. They weren't so interested in training you to go out there and make the next blockbuster. Wasn't on their radar at all. They wanted to teach you about the classics, the silent period, and 40s, 50s, 60s, all the great film movements in all the different countries, which was an invaluable education. I loved it. I think if I'm going to be in this industry and to make film, I want to understand where it started, where it bloomed and where it's evolved and all those kind of things. So that was really their focus, not so much turning you into the next Spielberg. That would have been the last thing on their mind. But it taught me a lot of important things in terms of what kind of filmmaker I wanted to be, what kind of stories I wanted to tell. And then I took that, and when I came out to Los Angeles, I let that evolve on its own. But I think it probably took an extra couple of steps, whereas if you go to a certain other school or a certain program out here, from day one, they're teaching you, I would think, how to get into the studio system and survive in this city, in the industry. It's just apples and oranges.
Right. Do you think Colorado being, this may sound so cliche, but much more grounded, just sort of by...
I think the location probably has something to do with it, plus Boulder's known for being Boulder,
yeah.
So,
sounds really nice.
Yeah, it's gorgeous, and it really was. It was a strong film school. By and large, every film program is going to be a little bit different. You should know what kind of film program it's going to be. Obviously, that can determine what kind of track you're taking in the next step in your career. USC is great for people looking to come out and make films in California, but that might not be the best choice for everybody. There's a lot of different types of stories to tell and a lot of different types of filmmakers. So You should know kind of what their specialties are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. Boulder, it's just apples and oranges to other film programs, not better or worse. It was its own kind of unique entity, and I loved it.
That's great. Yeah, sounds really nice.
Yes.
Having been out here several years, do you think that the film and television industry is fair?
I think fair in the sense that, like everything in life, it's a battle to stand out, fair or not. I think whatever things that have been obstacles or challenges, fair or whatnot, nowadays has been around for a long time in terms of how extreme it is. I think it might go up and down through the years, but regardless of what the circumstances are, it's always going to be a scrap to put your career together and to move forward. To me, the biggest challenge of being out here isn't really what's fair or not fair. It's been access. These days, especially because everyone can purchase gear, everyone can edit gear, everyone can bring together crews and make their own films, which is great, by the way. But it also means that you're up against millions of aspiring filmmakers. And so it was ever so difficult before, but it's become even more so now to stand out from the ocean of other people. There's really no way to have direct access to managers or to agents, entertainment attorneys for cold submissions. They don't even take a look at them anymore and haven't for several years. And I think you couldn't necessarily just walk up to them in years past, but there were certain ways you could kind of skirt around and get through to them that you don't have now. You really these days have to write a script that is blazing hot or make a film that in its own way goes viral, whether that's online or through the festival circuit, to even have a shot. And it's got to be seen by the right people on the right day. And without that, you're in for an uphill battle. That's just the reality of being out here with so many filmmakers. That, to me, is the biggest challenge, more so than what I would consider fair or not fair, because you're going to find that in any industry.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So you don't have to brand it as unfair. It's just that it's so crowded that it creates its own rules, maybe.
Yeah. In a sense, I would say I'm so focused on how to stand out and to keep honing my craft and make the best films I can and write the best scripts I can and getting them into the hands of the right people that I don't have time to think about what's fair or not fair. That's just kind of something I table for later. Sure. So I haven't really put that much thought into it. These days, of course, you can go online or read headlines, and I'm sure there's fair and unfair things left, right, and center. But I just haven't had time to focus on it. I've been way too focused on just trying to kind of get ahead one step at a time.